question is that the Council do now adjourn. The Honourable Member for Nelson.
Thank you, Mr President. I rise on adjournment to note briefly the petition that I tabled this morning in this chamber from Amnesty International Tasmania. The petition was delivered at a rally held last week on Thursday the 10th of November on the lawns out the front of this Parliament. The petition is signed by over 4,000 Tasmanians calling on the Tasmanian Government to raise the minimum age of criminal responsibility in this state to 14 years. As members will recall, just over 12 months ago, this chamber resoundingly passed a motion making the same call on the government to raise the minimum age of criminal responsibility to at least 14 years. Now, here we are, 12 months later, and these calls are only increasing in urgency as we see more and more evidence come to light about the terribly harmful impact of criminalising and incarcerating children. In fact, just yesterday on ABC Radio, the National Children's Commissioner was making a strong case for reform of the minimum age of criminal responsibility, describing the incarceration of children as a national shame. And just this morning on local ABC Radio, our State Commissioner for Children and Young People reinforced that call and emphasised the urgency of the need for reform. Members may also have seen the Four Corners program on ABC TV last night, which was a damning indictment of the incarceration of children in this country. Our motion, Mr President, passed in this place a year ago, and the Amnesty petition tabled today from the people of Tasmania stand as a clear call on the Rockcliffe Government to act more quickly, to do the right thing and progress this reform. While it is admirable that the Government has announced it will raise the age of detention in Tasmania to 14 years by the end of 2024, all expert stakeholders identify that this does not go far enough. Indeed, Mr President, why would we aim for a lesser response to supporting the well-being of Tasmanian children? Why wouldn't we be aiming to deliver the best evidence-based, compassionate response to children in our state? Mr President, our current minimum age of criminal responsibility and detention in this state and the system of youth justice that sits around it is discriminatory and is failing. It's failing on every measure. First and foremost, it's failing the children and young people who encounter it. This is a gross failure of our collective responsibility to our children, because not only are we locking up children, we are locking up children who are more likely to be suffering from trauma, more likely to have a disability and developmental delay, more likely to be suffering mental ill health, more likely to have been victims and witnesses of family violence, more likely to have educational disadvantage, more likely to be experiencing drug and alcohol misuse, and more likely to have been removed from their family by the state. Mr President, our youth justice and detention system make all those things much worse, and we are effectively criminalising disadvantage. And we know that by doing so, we're entrenching poor outcomes for a lifetime. That's a rock-solid guarantee. However, we're not only failing children in this, we're failing our community. Rather than make us safer, more cohesive and resilient, our current ineffective youth justice system puts us more at risk and contributes to a community that is more divided. When we look at the current minimum age of criminal responsibility and the youth justice system that sits around it, we can clearly see that it is not smart justice, it is not compassionate justice, and it does not serve our community. We're at an ideal time for positive change. We have an opportunity to do better, and we know what response is needed. Wraparound support and care, secure, stable housing, effective and sustained family support, proactive health and mental health care, educational engagement and support, love and acceptance. Here in Tasmania, we could, Mr President, and should be at the forefront of this reform. The evidence supports it, the community want it, and our children deserve it. Mr President, it's time for action now.
Question is that Council do now adjourn. The Honourable